that could make brighter lives.
Hello everybody, and you probably guessed it, but welcome to Friday. It is Friday evening. I have closed my laptop and I am ready for the weekend. This is gonna be a weekend of reading and cinema. So I am joining another Climates Weekend Challenge this weekend, and I've just kind of decided on my 4 goals for this weekend. So, goal number 1, go to the cinema twice. Goal number 2, keep on track of the reading that I have to do for Magical Readathon in order to finish it on time on Tuesday. Goal number 3 is to deep clean this living room and the kitchen area. And goal number 5, which is a stretch goal, and by stretch I mean like it is miles away, and that would be finishing my Magical Readathon TBR 2 days early, because in order to do that I would have to read 861 pages over these 3 days, and let me tell you, it's already like almost 5 o'clock on the first day and I have read 0 of those pages so far. So I don't think it is possible. Who knows, maybe it is. It would be amazing, and thanks, guest starring Fate. Don't show your private parts to the camera, please. Move. So, I don't think it is possible at all, and I need to give myself a massive reward if I were to be able to do so. I just don't know what that massive reward would be, you know, like, I'm not gonna reward myself with more books. I rewarded myself with a book last week, and that is fine, but I also don't want to make it like a super regular thing where I'm rewarding myself with books. Because I do still want to lower the total amount. The total amount is gonna be quite nice at the end of this. Cat! Fine, let's change our angle. So the total is going to be nice at the end of this, I think. I haven't actually checked it for a while. I think I should be ending at 12. I will admit that I thought it was going to be lower at the beginning of the month, so I must have had some new books arrive in the meantime, though. What arrived? Yeah, okay, there are like... Yeah, there are a few things that arrived, I guess. So yeah, I was kind of hoping to be under 10, ideally, at this point in time, and that ain't happening. And my Broken Binding fantasy subscription just notified me that it is being shipped. And my sci-fi and fantasy subscription for the Broken Binding for September should also ship, and my Illuma Crate for September should also ship in the month of October. So yeah, the month of October is gonna see 3 books added to it, so I don't think that I'm gonna be rewarding myself with a book, right? But so yes, those are the 4 goals for this weekend. I don't know what my reward is gonna be for making that stretch goal, but honestly, I really don't even think I'm gonna make that stretch goal. So why even bother coming up with a reward? Except that I guess the idea behind the reward is that it will like push me to read more in order to get it right, but there's nothing I want that desperately. There's nothing I want that desperately that I'm gonna give up all of my sleep time in order to do more reading, I guess is the conclusion here. So yeah, I'm about to go to the cinema. I'm going to see the new Leonardo DiCaprio movie, so One Battle After Another. I'll give a little bit of a review for that afterwards. But let me first talk about what I've so far read this week, because I have finished 1 book so far this week, and that is Universality by Natasha Brown. This is one of the books for the Booker long list, and at this point in time I can also confirm that it stayed on the long list. It didn't make it to the short list, and I'm quite happy with that because I didn't like this book. So this is a short novella. It is like 146 pages or something like that, and it was such a struggle for me to get through. Like, the beginning was fine. I think this is divided in like 5 sections, I feel like. The first section is a reproduction of a sort of an article that somebody within this world has written, and so you get an article about a gold bar, a solid gold bar that has been stolen and it was used to attack a person. And so this first chapter read very well because it read in like the imagined journalistic style of one of the characters, and I thought that that style was really snappy, fast-paced, engaging. Unfortunately, that didn't hold up for me for the rest of the book. Afterwards, you get 4 sections, and in each section, we are looking at a different person who is connected to this initial article, starting with the writer of the article. And through that, we explore certain themes. The biggest theme that is being explored, I guess, is like the debate about woke culture and anti-woke culture. But yeah, I just didn't really care for it. I don't know what the book was trying to say, what its message was about it, or whether it just wanted to explore that topic. But in any case, I don't feel like we said anything significant about woke culture or anti-woke culture, I feel like. So for me, it felt a little bit pointless as a consequence. And I don't necessarily mind this idea of exploring different people connected to this story. I think that that is a really interesting way to tell a story. However, I also feel like that they didn't come together. They didn't connect in any sort of way for you to like fully get, I don't know, a rounded off story. You know, if some of these characters would circle back to another perspective that we were getting, and so we would still get like what was happening with the writer, for example, from another perspective, then I felt like that would have worked better for me, I guess. Whereas now we get like these 4 different people connected to that original story, and we just zoom in on them, but I don't feel like the point is to know anything about these people. They're just there for this thematic debate, I guess. And then I didn't feel like this thematic debate was worked out very well. So yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I struggled with it. I had to read like 20 pages a day of it at some point or so just to get through it, because I couldn't deal with more of this book. And then for the rest of the week, I've been mainly listening to Terra Ignota Book 1 by Ada Palmer. So the first book is called Two Like the Lightning, which is a very interesting, special book that I'm gonna have a difficult time coming up with an opinion about, because it is weird, difficult to follow, but I like it. So I'll talk about a little bit more about this one in a later update. And then my final thing to mention that I'm also currently reading is, after I finished Universality, I did start to read Misinterpretation by, I forget the name every single time. It's a name that starts with an X, which is also already somewhat difficult for me to imagine how to pronounce. So I'll have that on the screen. This is another Booker long-listed novel. This is a book that I also already know has not made it into the shortlist. I did debate changing it, but you know, the prompt for Magical Readathon is a book with a mirror on the cover. I do have a book on like my want to read list that has a mirror on the cover, but definitely I couldn't have replaced it with another Booker Prize book. So in the end I was like, let's just leave it on there. It's still a Booker Prize book, so I'll still have had a feel for the long list by reading this. And so far fine. I do I'm very curious about this, because this one is about like an interpreter who is interpreting for people who speak Albanian. And so basically her current sort of like client is an Albanian guy who has been tortured, and she is going to help him with his therapy sessions. And yeah, knowing what has happened, like I went to Albania over the summer and we got to have a small bit of insight into the communist regime that held power there for some time at the end of the 19th century, I believe. And so knowing about that makes me curious about what we're going to be delving into in these therapy sessions. But yeah, it is also, it's easier to read than Universality, but I will also say that it's also a book where after a chapter I'm like, yeah, that's enough. So I don't have that luxury at this point in time, definitely not if I want to finish it by the end of Sunday. So yeah, we'll see if it's something that I can more easily push through, or that I am more engaged with if I get further into it. Potentially I will allow myself the audiobook to make it easier for me to get through that, if need be. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so those are the 3 things that I'm currently two things. That's the one thing that I finished so far and the two things that I'm currently reading. But so I'll give you updates about those two as we go into the weekend, as we get further into the weekend. This weekend I'm not going to do the reward system I did in previous weekends, I think, so I don't know. I just don't feel like working with the rewards, which will also mean that, I won't be able to indulge myself in things if I haven't done the rewards yet. So I feel like this weekend I don't want to work with the rewards. I want to just I'll be in survival mode and hopefully I'll get through my challenges. Having done the challenges will be reward in and of itself. Except if I do that stretch one, maybe I'll reward myself with something. But I have yet to decide what that will be then.
In our hearts, there's love and light that we must realize. We need to feel, we need to use this warmth that could make bright our lives.
So, it is the 30th of September. I finished my Magical Readathon TBR and I finished it on the 28th, meaning I finished it within the weekends. I know I don't have any live proof because I didn't update at that moment, but there's no way for you guys to know whether I'm saying the truth when I say that it is the 28th or whether it is the 30th. So in any case, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Those who follow me on Discord know that I finished it on the 28th. So I don't know, I didn't plan to actually do it until, I don't know, 3 hours or so before the end of the day. I was definitely still thinking okay, it's just crazy for me to push through until I finish this entire TBR at this point in time because, I still have so many pages to go. But the pages were going very very rapidly, I want to say. So first up, I have not updated you guys all weekend. I have got some B-roll this time around, but on Friday I finished Too Like the Lightning, so the first book in Terra Ignota. I'm not going to add much more thoughts to that book because I feel like I don't really have anything further to say about it. The thoughts that I had still apply, still very much confused at many points. There were many points in which I was starting to feel like it was all coming together and I was finally grasping what was happening, and then there were moments later in which I was like, oh wait, where are we again? So I definitely hope that in book 2 maybe I'll just have to try and do more immersive reading, reading along while listening to it, even though then I'll probably have to switch to the other audiobook because definitely the dramatized audiobook, it skips a lot of things from the written form, so you have to kind of diagonally read along then and be okay, wait, we've skipped to there, because if there's sort of descriptors like he said, she said, those things fall away with dramatized versions. And so I felt like this one had quite a lot of differences between the physical copy, well, the ebook copy and the audiobook copy. But then for the ending, I want to say that the ending also was just wait, what? It's done? This gave no resolution. It only introduced a fact of a new element for us to keep in mind that it will be interesting to look into for the next book. So yes, I will definitely continue. I had a good time with it and I think this shows great promise. It's a very interesting world and a lot of interesting you know, like mainly moral discussions, I guess, or discussions of philosophy that I've really enjoyed. Then on Saturday, probably already at that point, actually, I started Misinterpretation by Lydia, and then the last name I cannot pronounce, which is a Booker Prize book, and this is a book that is longlisted. It didn't make it onto the shortlist. I had a good time with this book actually, because this is a book about a Albanian girl who has emigrated to the US. She is now an adult there. She is working as an interpreter and a translator, and in her line of work she is supporting a lot of Albanian immigrants. She is living together with her boyfriend, but things very early on in the book start to take a little bit of a turn where you're starting to feel like there's some cracks within this relationship, and he seems to feel like she gives too much of herself to others, and that has basically mentally taxed her and would like for her to step back a little bit more, and she just cannot seem to do that. And so this book is very much about the well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's very much about it. This book is meandering to some extent. It definitely has a plot line, and I will say that there's a section within this book in which I finally got really engrossed, because in the beginning I was really not that into it. Like marital problems isn't really a subject line that draws me in, and our character was also just like acting very weird and making these weird decisions a lot of the time. But there is a section in the book that definitely was very capturing, because it was like a little bit more thrilling, a little bit more sort of like Albanian mafia coming into play there. So I enjoyed this book overall. I think it's probably the book on the Booker long list that I've had the least issues with so far. But do I think it's like a book that's like I would expect, like after having read it, I'm like, oh yeah, of course this is a Booker Prize book? No, it's more like, okay, yeah, I didn't dislike this book, and I think it was, and I enjoyed a lot of things about it, but it is also not a book that makes me go like, oh yes, this must be one of the best books of the year. And then the final thing that I read this weekend, which is why I was like, I am not going to be able to finish this TBR, because this book is over 500 pages. I have previously DNF'd a book by the same author, so I had no anticipation of being able to finish this, and that is Grave Empire by Richard Swan. I will absolutely thank the audiobook for being able to finish this, because no way would I have been able to physically read all 500 pages of this book within a weekend. But the audiobook was really good for this one. I mean, I really enjoyed it as an audiobook. Is it an amazing audiobook? I don't know. I'm not a great judge of those things, but it definitely was a book that in the audio format is also very easy to digest. We just have two POVs, a third one that like occasionally pops in there, and I felt like this one was very easy to follow, let's say it like that. Like, there is a lot of world building thrown your way, because this is like different realms at war with one another, different species that are inhabiting this world. So there is a lot to learn about the world, but it isn't like you are lost in the story. It's very easy to follow along to this story. It's very easy to get to know the world a little bit better, and I really enjoyed the tone of this book, because this is quite a dark book, because it deals a lot with sort of like death, because basically there's a sort of like crisis in the underworld that we are made aware of early on within the book, and so one of our characters is going on a mission to find out what is going on with the afterlife and try to solve it, and our other character is a soldier who is sent to like this far off fortress where he's very far away from civilization, and on his way there he stumbles upon 4 soldiers that have basically been disemboweled, and when he arrives at the fortress he finds people there to be very cold and distant, and to seem to not be in the best of moods, and then he quickly finds out why, because basically none of them are able to get a good night's sleep because there are shouts and cries and snivels and whatever going on all through the night without them actually knowing the source. And so he is tasked with kind of figuring out what is going on, what is behind the disembowelment of these soldiers. A very dark toned book that I actually really enjoyed. So yes, it had kind of made me want to jump back into Justice of Kings, but I think I'm gonna let that slide. You know, if after this series I read another series by Richard Swan and I really enjoy it, maybe. But I think that, you know, the Justice of Kings had a lot more of that sort of like detective type storyline to it, so it makes sense for me to not have been able to get into it very easily. So I think that it's fine for me to just like let that slide, and maybe one day, if I've read everything else by Richard Swan and absolutely consider him one of my favorite authors, I might reconsider. But yeah, that is my reading for Magical Readathon, which means I have read the 4,900 whatever, 94 I think, pages that comprise that TBR. I didn't fully read them all in the month of September because I did read a manga book the night before, so in August still, but I have also since read that page count, but in another book in the 2 evenings that followed. So I did read over 5,000 pages in the month of September, which is the highest page count for the year at any rate. But it also wouldn't surprise me if that is like the highest page count I've ever reached within a month. So yeah, will October be a total crash and burn? It is likely, but we'll try to avoid, because I do have a lot of books that I also want to read in October. And actually the ideal TBR for October is just like 900 pages shorter than the one for September was. But we'll see. I also take time off in October, which I didn't do in September. It's not a huge ton of time off. I will take like 2 or 3 days I think off, so I'll just have like a very long weekend, a 5-day weekend or something like that. So it's not like an immense amount of time off, but it is still time off that I didn't have during the Magical Readathon, so potentially that is gonna be something that makes it easier for me to potentially get that TBR. So yeah, that is it for this vlog. I don't know whether I'll vlog in October or not, but in any case, I have enjoyed vlogging, though I feel like vlogging like never properly updating you guys regularly enough. So maybe I should just do like a weekend vlogs rather than week vlogs, because most of these were actually like a little bit of like embellished weekend vlogs, because most of my updates always came within the weekend. But so yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed these vlogs. Thank you guys for watching them and for liking them. And yeah, I would very much appreciate a comment, because I love tuning in with you guys and checking in on you guys' processes. Definitely let me know, because by the time you're seeing this Magical Readathon is over, let me know if you managed your TBR or whether you need to be using some scrolls to graduate or just continue. But so yeah, with that, I'm gonna end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you guys for the next one. Bye!